Good morning, Mary. How are you?
Fine. How are you, Colleen?
I am doing well. I'm excited to learn from you today. I did a little research on you this week, and of course, I already knew so much, but I love that you love horses and you're a mom, which is a good thing, wife, good thing, daughter, obviously. Um, and I love your magnet mind. So tell me about the basis core of your business. I know you wrote a book, those things. Tell me that basic stuff first before we dive in.
Sure. Okay. So I've been an entrepreneur since 2010, and I started a publishing company called Iris Blue Publishing back then. And I wrote gymnastics books because I was a gymnast forever and I was a coach. And I did that. And then I began transitioning through gymnastics, and I kept writing gymnastics books, and then I moved into personal development at a greater level, and that's where Magnet Mind Development came in. And I've since closed the gym that my husband and I had, Tucson Gymnastics Center, and now I just focus on personal growth and development in Magnet Mind Development. And we have my goal is to create the most supportive and inspiring community that we can. And I have so much fun. Actually, Sarah and Donna are a couple of members of Magnet Mind Development, which is fabulous. Thank you for coming, ladies. And I am a Proctor Gallagher consultant. And so Bob Proctor was my mentor and still is actually in the ways that he can be. And I just keep teaching his material and the material of his mentors. And I help people shift their self-image.
I think that is so important, especially in midlife, because I find that there are, if you were to go scroll menopause, I'm just going to go there, right? Menopause, midlife, women, this isn't the content that you're going to find. What you're going to find is how to reduce your hot flashes, how to sleep better at night, how to fix the flupa, how or fupa, whatever it is, all those things, but not the mindset. And yet, honestly, is the mindset not a lot of the foundation of those problems?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so, I mean, if you think about it, because as problems are arising, we have it ingrained in our mindset that this is just midlife. This is what's going to happen. Now I have to be a miserable cow, right? The rest of my life for the next 10 years, right? Is that right? And so I think that if we can adjust that, where we see the vision that, yeah, we're lonely, our kids moved out. Yes, our days can be really empty, but also see the fact that we can fill our days, that we can make them what we want, that this is actually a moment in life for us to shine, that we don't have to put others first, that we can say to ourselves, where are we? What part of me that I really loved got lost in the last 30 years of raising kids? And how can I bring me back into full circle so that I'm doing well in my life, so that I'm healthy mentally, physically, and I'm capable mentally and physically? Because I tell you what, I thought that raising kids was hard. I thought having two kids under a year old was really hard. Diapers, so hard. Have them both be sick, so hard. Teenagers, I thought that would kill me. But I was under the impression that when our kids reached 18, we were done. Let me tell you, Donna, you could probably tell me too. That is not how it works. It's a lot harder. And yet we're at a different place too. We have our own personal and physical and emotional mental struggles. And so the message you're sharing with us today is so profound for this audience, for midlife
Oh,
women,
well,
I feel like. So with that,
thank you. Well, and I appreciate so much what you do because you give them, well, all of us, a spark to go, okay, I can do this. This is something I can do. Colleen's doing it. She's big fat doing it, so can I. That's
there
what
you
I like about you.
go. Well, thank you so much. So tell us all the things.
Well, self-image, okay, so we'll just start at the beginning. One, you have a self-image. You have an image of who you are, and you have an image of what you can achieve. And so much of that, and this is the perfect, you're right, this is midlife is the perfect time to really understand this because you've been someone for somebody else for so long. And it's hard to move into a new phase of life without changing who you see yourself as. And so when we do that, and when we can kind of recreate who we want to be in this next phase of our life and moving forward and through the rest of this wonderful, wonderful life on earth, then we can begin really fulfilling ourselves in the process. And it's so much fun. Life isn't over just because your kids moved out, like you just said. It's not over. It's just beginning because you can really focus on who you are. And the beauty of it is Napoleon Hill says that we don't really move into our wisdom until our 40s, 50s, and 60s. So, ladies, this is the phenomenal time to decide who you're going to be from here on out. And our self-image is the thing that sets the boundaries of who we are and who we become and what we can do. And so we can craft anything. We can become anything. We have infinite potential. We just thought it was wrapped up in motherhood and wifedom. But we're really understanding that it's more than just that. And we can harness this infinite potential and we can listen to the desires that we have had nitpicking at us throughout the years. There were so many. I'll give you an example from my life. Horses. You mentioned I love horses, and I do. And since I was 6, I wanted my pony. I wanted a pony. I wanted a pony. I wanted a pony. And I expected my dad to drive in with a horse trailer and have a pony in there. And eventually I got a pony. But my love for horses was always there in the background, even though I was really into gymnastics and I was a gymnast and I had a scholarship for gymnastics and then I went became a coach and then I opened a gym and horses were on the back burner, but they were still in my mind. And then now my daughter and I share horses again together. And one of those things is I ignored horses for a long time, even though they brought me so much joy. So, what I'm encouraging you to do, all of you, is to not ignore those desires that you had as a kid. If you still have them, it's time to wake them up and bring them back into your life because they are the things that bring meaning to your life and they are the things that bring joy to your life and they are the things that horses ground me. I go out to the barn every single day and I'm refreshed and rejuvenated and this is what I do and I love it, and then I can serve my clients at a much higher level.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that you said that we've been someone for someone else for so long. Because one thing I don't like is sometimes when people refer to this stage of life, they look back and they say, well, you've given so much of yourself for somebody else. Like it was just such a burden. When it wasn't, it was the light of my life. There's absolutely nothing else I would have rather done than be with my kids and my family and being of service to them every day. And so I feel like that's not something to be looked down on. That's just a stepping stone to the woman that I am today.
Yeah.
And we have done hard things. Now, if we get to midlife and our mindset is overwhelming us, or we're feeling like we're downtrodden because we have all of the midlife physical things, then we need to remember all of the hard things we've done and the fact that we've survived 100% of them. The ones that we thought we wouldn't survive, we have
Mhm.
100%. And so we do have the power to do that. But I think the mindset plays such a crucial role. And as a child, my parents enrolled us in Zig Ziglar's Up with People. So all the children in our family were adopted. And so my mother knew that she had a handful to deal with. And I was the only one that was young. The others were they were all 4. Everybody else was 4. And so they'd missed out on those foundational building blocks. And so she really needed to implement a lot of mindset things with us. And she knew that going into this. And she did a really good job of it. Too good. In fact, sometimes my husband has to say, what makes you think you can do that? Things like when I say, well, I'm going to go tow so-and-so's car over, and he's like, what makes you think you can do that? I'm like, well, I don't know, but I'm sure I can figure it out. And he's like, I think you need me. So I have not had that problem of thinking that I can't do things because I had that instilled. However, 54 years later, I'm ready for your refresher course, your tips and strategies.
Awesome, awesome. Well, and that's the thing with self-image. We can always be improving it. We can always be lifting ourselves to the next highest level because we can only see so far as our paradigms and programming allow us. And so, yes, you can see yourself towing a car, but can you see yourself flying to the moon? I don't know. I mean, maybe you can, but at the same time, we have to elevate our self-image to reflect where we want to go. And so many times we try to go somewhere and then we get pulled back because we just can't see ourselves in that role. And so I mentioned desires, and that's the first place you have to go. And in midlife, so many times we stopped asking ourselves what we want. And I'm telling you, this is the time to rekindle that question. What do I want? What do I really want? Maybe I don't want to make grilled cheese sandwiches anymore. Maybe I do want to make grilled cheese sandwiches. I don't know. Maybe you do. But the fact of the matter is what do you want? And maybe you want more vacations. Maybe you want to have a cabin in the woods. Maybe you want to float down a river. I don't know what it is you want, but listen to that desire and then begin to work that into your life. And by doing this next thing, you can. And so what you do is you pick a goal, something that you really, really want, something that is big, something that challenges you, something that says, "Ooh, that would be the coolest thing in the whole wide world. I would love to do that." And then you craft a scene around that as though it's already done. Maybe you want to bring all your life experiences together and put them in a book and be a bestseller. Well, make your scene celebrating that. Maybe you see the number of, maybe you see yourself on the New York Times bestseller list or whatever it is. You see your name in the title of your book. Craft a scene that encompasses that it's done. Or maybe you want to be a speaker and you're in front of thousands of people and they're all giving you a standing ovation. Give yourself a scene that you accomplished this big thing. And then what I have you do, and this is my favorite one, my second favorite part, because the third favorite part, or the first favorite part is the third step. But this step is creating affirmations that actually mean something. And so when you do this, if I really want to write a best-selling book, I have so much information and knowledge that I've accumulated through my life, and other people have to hear it, and I want to be this best-selling author. So you craft this scene, and then you look at yourself in the mirror as though you've just done this, and you look and see what are the characteristics that this person, this version of me, exudes. Well, she's confident, she knows what she's talking about. And well, she's calm because it's already done. She's wise. She's got all that information behind her. So start looking at those attributes that that version of you has, even
I
though you
love
might,
that.
go ahead.
I love that. When I first went from working at a car wash to working in the business world, and actually I started in the business world as a business manager, and the office owner said to me, you probably need to, I know you're in high school, I know you're on work release program, but you probably need to dress the part a little bit. And I was also working at a car wash, and so the car wash clothes were more comfortable for me. They just were. But I told my mom what the business owner had said, and so she took me shopping, and I was like, I just don't know, like these just don't look like me. And she said, put it on, put it on. So I did. I put on the business attire. We bought one that I loved because I loved who I looked like in that. Went over to the makeup counter, got makeup done for the first time in my life. I'd never worn makeup before, got makeup done. And my mom said, now do you feel the part? And I said, I do so much more because I have my knowledge of who I am too. And so I know this is right, right? But I had to try it on, just like you're saying, right?
Yeah, I love that. I love that story. That's such a perfect story because in just clothes and makeup or doing your hair or whatever can make you feel better. You don't have to, you don't have to, but if you want to present yourself to the world in a different way, you have to feel and act differently. And
Right.
that's
Sometimes you have to feel and act like you want to be
hmm
instead of
yeah.
just hoping that it's going to happen.
Right. And one of the best ways to do this, if you can't see yourself yet in that role, is imagine somebody else in that you admire in that role. You know, first did this when I was a kid. I was like 12, and my niece is 10 years younger, 10 months younger than me. So we're close in age. And she came with me to a gymnastics meet, and we were traveling with all my teammates. And she never met them before, but she acted like she knew them forever, and she was joking around. And I was a shy and reserved person. And I decided then and there I was going to be like Lisa. I was going to be outgoing, and I was going to laugh, and I was going to treat people like I just knew them forever, and I was just going to be like her. And so I imagined, how would Lisa act in this situation? How would she act in this situation? And I kind of just put myself into that role. And that's kind of what you're describing as well. You have to begin to feel and act differently and see
Yeah.
yourself in a different way. And so you can start doing that with different clothes. You can start doing that with different characteristics, different personality traits, and those become your affirmations. So instead of saying I'm shy and reserved, I say I'm outgoing. I laugh. People love me, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And so when you create your affirmations from that scene of having it done, like when you're on stage after you just performed for all these people and they're clapping and giving you a standing ovation, what does this person look like? And you just take your affirmations from that vision of who you are in that version of yourself, because it already exists. It's right here. It's right there. And it can tell you everything.
So give us some more examples of affirmations in that scenario where it's a speaker on stage kind of thing.
Sure. So when I'll give you an example of when I see my scene. Um, I'm standing on, and I don't have a speaker on stage scene. My scene is I'm standing on my back patio holding my hot cup of coffee, looking at my beautiful green pastures with my four beautiful horses, and I have a barn over here, and my house is behind me, and I have all this stuff. And when I stepped out of myself and looked at myself like I was looking in a mirror, I saw someone who was calm. I saw someone who was confident. I saw someone who was wise. I saw someone who knew who she was and who loved her life and was happy and had a beautiful relationship with her family. And so all of these traits just came oozing out of this vision of me. And so if you're on a stage in front of people, what are those attributes? I mean, there's some work that you had to put yourself through to get to that version of you. So what are those pieces that you of the puzzle that you have to put together? And those are the affirmations. So well, she projects her voice, doesn't she? And she smiles at her audience, and she makes eye contact with the people that she's talking to. All those different things and traits that you want to live into. And the more detailed you get, the more you can go, oh, I can practice that today. I can practice talking to people and listening to people and looking in their eyes and projecting with my voice, or whatever it is. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. So what I hear you saying is that on top of the affirmations that we're going to create, we're going to take actions and put into practice, maybe the things that that person would have done, right? And so I think I've heard this before where somebody said, if you want to be a successful CEO, you have to get up and act like one from the get-go. So no, don't come in your PJs or your t-shirt. Get up, shower, shave, whatever you do. It was a man speaking. So get up, shower, shave, polish your shoes, have had your coffee already, be there ready to work 15 minutes early or 30 minutes early, however a CEO would present himself, right? And so I feel like what you're saying is do the same thing. Pretend, if for lack of a better word, that we are already there. Obviously, we're not going to pretend that we're already on stage, but we can pretend that we have the qualities that got us there,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and you're developing the qualities that got you there. So you're
Right.
not even pretending. You're saying,
Maybe
I'm
practice is a better
acting
word.
into
Yes.
that
Yeah,
version of me.
that's it. Acting into that version of me. I love that.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, is you can use visualization to be on that stage. So visualization is so key, and I used it so much in gymnastics. There was no way that I could accomplish a skill on the floor if I could not see myself doing it in my mind, especially one that I had never done before. And those are scary, and they are huge, and they are, you don't know exactly how you're going to do it, but you see yourself, when you can see yourself doing it, you practice in that role. And it's the same with anything. It's not just in gymnastic skills. They talk about free throw shots. They those that team who visualized did almost as well as the team who practiced physically for 30 days straight, and they didn't even touch a basketball. And the improvement level was only 1% less than the ones who actually touched the basketball. But it doesn't just work in sport, it works in our lives. And so what if you're a salesperson and you have a sales script? Practice your sales script and imagine the prospect answering all the questions exactly how you want them to. Handle the objections the way that you want to, and do everything perfectly in your imagination first. And the more that you do that, when I was a gymnast, I would see these skills in my mind, but my hands would get sweaty, I'd be
Right.
nervous, and I
Right.
would I would feel that physical reaction in my body. And that can happen too when you are visualizing, say, being on stage speaking. Maybe you have this, write the speech, write the speech and start delivering it in your imagination. What would you say before all these people clap at you? Right?
That's interesting that you talked about basketball because I played basketball and volleyball. And one of the things that our coach told us was when you make it to that free throw line, do your pre-dribble and then pause and visualize it going in. Visualize yourself making the basket and then watch it all the way in as you shoot it. Watch it all the way in. And I think also on you were saying about the speech, go ahead and learn your speech, know it inside out, right? And that's the same thing one of my coaches told me about your elevator pitch, right? Each one of us here has an elevator pitch, I think. And to know your elevator pitch, well, go stand in the mirror and recite it. Go out and talk to the sheep, in my case, because I live on a farm, and recite it. Tell it to them over and over until it falls comfortably off your tongue.
Yeah.
It becomes second nature to you. And it's just like any other habit that we're going to build physically or mentally. We need to practice, practice, practice until it flows.
Hmm. Absolutely.
It
Yeah.
will flow eventually.
It will flow eventually, and you get all your practice out with your sheep.
Yeah, exactly. And also then I don't, then there's not the tongue tied, where you're stumbling over your words or thinking, ooh, I could have said that better after you said it because you've already said it and refined the process.
Exactly. And the other thing is that one of the things that is so important and so key, in my opinion, with this whole personal development thing that sometimes is glossed over. We get into the mechanics of so many things, and writing things out or saying things out loud, but we have to create that confidence. And that's what that repetition does, is create confidence. But where does confidence come from in the first place is that there's something deeper within us that we are trying to get out, right? Desires come from within, and desires come from life-seeking expression through us, right? Whether you call it God or life or infinite intelligence or source energy, whatever it is, there's something within us that's, one, keeping our body alive so we can do this, and two, giving us these desires in the first place so we can experience more on this planet. And we have to tap into that and understand that. And I highly suggest that inside people's self-image scripts is that you remind yourself of who you really are deep within, that you have that power, you have that infinite potential in there. It's in there. You just have to let it out. And so many times we limit ourselves and we slink behind something, or we say, well, I've never done that before, so it's scary. But we have that potential to do, be, and have anything.
I love that. I love that. And I think that one of the graces that we get when we get a little bit older is that we're no longer afraid of making mistakes. I mean, I'm perfectly fine at this age saying, you're right, I made a mistake. That's mine and I own it and I'll do what I will with it. Or even saying to somebody else, and I don't need reminded of it. I will make progress and fix it on my own. But in opening the doors when we allow this from within, I think sometimes it can be a process. It's like going up a dark hallway where you're not quite sure, there's a light at the end, but it's not bright enough to show you where the door handle is. And so you have to kind of fumble to open each door, to let that come to the top, to let it truly come out, and then to be comfortable as you step into the light with it.
Yeah, I love what you just said. Sometimes you have to fumble for the doorknob, and that's so true. You know, let's think about the first rocket that went to the moon. They knew where the moon was, but and they set the trajectory for the moon, but the rocket fails its way to the moon. We have to figure out the way to get there. And we have to embrace the fact that we're moving forward and oh, we tried that, that didn't work, but I'm going to try this instead and see if that works. And then I'm going to try that and see if that works. And you mentioned that you can't see that far ahead of you, but you can see as far as you can see. And so you can get to that point. And then when you get there, you can see a little bit farther. And then when you get there, you can see a little bit farther. And adding that level of faith is very helpful in accomplishing something that you've never accomplished before.
And I agree with that. And I would add to that that when you get to that point where you can't see any further ahead, sometimes that's the point where it's important to go by faith and just feelings
Yeah.
and say, does this feel aligned with me, aligned with my end goal, aligned with who I want to be? Is this aligned for what I want my dream life to look like? And go with your feelings until you can see the pathway again. You have to
Yeah.
have faith that way and just go forward a little bit at a time.
I love that. I love that. And that's why having one of these self-image scripts is so helpful is because you're reminded then of where you're headed. Because if we don't have that intentional place that we're going, we get pulled in all sorts of different directions. And like what you're just saying, it's hard to figure out where you're aligned or what you're aligned with if you don't have an end in mind.
Right. And I feel like too, sometimes, especially midlife, the safety thing for us is to fall back on what's natural, what's normal, what we've done for 32 years.
Mhm.
And I have had to personally remind myself, look, my kids need room to grow. And so building a business at home for me meant a shift in my family dynamics where when I owned my Airbnbs and my high upscale boutique downtown, I would call my kids and say, please bring the grandkids by at such and such time. I'll try to visit with them during lunch or between clients and that just wasn't serving them. Or I would say, I get off tonight at 7. Let's do something so I can see the grandkids. In the meantime, my kids are trying to build a family life and a home life with their kids and their family, and getting off at 7 or rushing to meet me right before nap time didn't work. So being
Mhm.
able to be home whenever it's convenient for them, I'm allowing them to grow. They can just come by whenever works, and I can usually pause what I'm doing and entertain them. But I think that that's one of the freedoms we get with coming this far in life is that we know we can do this now, like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know what we don't want anymore, right? And you just mentioned you don't want those constraints. You want to be free and open with your schedule and your location and your time. And
Right. And I think we get braver. Ladies, are we braver? I feel like we're a little bit braver. Like we just, do you care what the person sitting next to you thinks so much? Because I
Mhm.
really don't anymore. I just don't. I know that I want to be eternally happy and I want to help my family to be that. And the rest is just white noise, right? And so it gives us permission to step away from falling back into our safety net of the things we've always done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that I do suggest that you do after you create your affirmations is to explain why you're those things, why that version of you is that. So, like for calm, for instance, why are you calm, Mary? Why? Well, because I know that what I have is already mine, and I know that it's coming to me, and I know that the laws of the universe work, and I know that my visualization is attracting it to me, and I know that I can keep going, and I have this infinite potential, and I can do it. So explain why those affirmations are important for you. I
Oh,
think that
that's
that's
really important.
mhm.
Yeah, that makes it so it makes sense because so many of us have to be logical, right?
Hmm.
And so that definitely fills that logic void where we can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then having that, you can just start living those things now. You're like, oh, I can handle this situation in a calm manner.
Yes.
I don't have to get my scruff up when somebody cuts me off. I can just go, oh, well, all right, they're over there now. That's okay. Right? And so we can begin to just act into that version, especially the more that we describe it to ourselves and have a clear vision is the key because then we know exactly in what situation how to be. And
I'm
we like ourselves more.
taking notes. So tell me, Mary,
Mhm.
what does it look like when a client works with you?
Well, I have a
Just
couple of
for
different ways. Yeah, so a couple of different
yeah.
ways. And one is Magnet 30, which is our basic membership. And for $1 a day, we have daily Facebook posts which help people within a 30-day challenge. So, for instance, this month was actually a reading challenge where we all read a chapter out of the Science of Getting Rich, and we committed to 15 minutes a day, and then I just put journal prompts up for everyone. So a 30-day challenge that helps us develop the habits of the person who we're becoming. So, for instance, repetition is the mother of all learning, and so when we repeat a habit we get better at it. Um, and we also have challenges based upon the intellectual faculties and how we can develop those. We have the laws of the universe. We're doing the law of perpetual transmutation next. And so we're understanding more and more about the self-development realm. But with that comes a weekly mastermind that all of our members are welcome to share in and come to. And then I encourage our members to mastermind on their own too. So if there are people who want to write a book, they can get together and mastermind together. If they are people who want wellness centers and do that, they can mastermind together. So there are different facets of this Magnet 30 basic membership for $1 a day that you can kind of pick and choose and create what makes sense for you. And then on a deeper level, we have the elite program where I take you through 12 lessons. We spend 6 months together and we go through 12 lessons and we that were created by Bob Proctor that I follow every day of my life. And that's how I set goals and I improve my self-image and I use my intellectual faculties and my leadership and all those things that are developed within this program to get to that main goal. So there are a couple of different ways that you can work with me, but those are the big two.
Very good, very good. Ladies, do you have anything to add?
Well, Sarah's in our basic program and Donna's actually in our elite program.
Oh, tell me what you like most about that, Sarah. And Donna, I'll come to you in a minute too, if you don't mind.
Um, for me, it's the mastermind actually. The members are amazing, and we get to really talk through whatever it is we're going through, and we're going through in our studies. And for me, I grew so much in the last 4 months that it's absolutely incredible. So I really, really like the community. I like Mary as well and Don. And but yes, the masterminding, the talking it out. I'm someone who talks everything out. I journal, but not a lot. I talk things out, and so for me, it's very, very, very beneficial. So I'm very grateful for it.
Oh, thank you, Sarah.
Sounds amazing. That sounds amazing, Sarah. And
It
Donna,
is.
tell us about your experience.
Well, I'm going through TIR, Thinking into Results with Mary in the elite group. And it's great because that you set your goal kind of, you do, you set your goal. And even though like I haven't achieved my goal yet, we're going through TIR again now, and I'm growing to a higher level to get to that goal. And you just keep advancing through the stages, and you do grow immensely through each time. And even though like I haven't achieved my goal yet, I feel closer to it. I'm getting closer, I'm growing each time. So it will eventually be achieved. I know that. And I've grown to that level that now I know it will be achieved. And I'm just, I just have to grow more to get to that level of being in alignment with it, so I can attract ideas to me of how to achieve it. So I just love the whole thing. And I do sometimes I've gotten away from the magnet 30 things. I'm focusing more on the elite stuff now. Um, but I love looking back on it. The journal prompts that Mary sets are great, in Magnet 30. And the whole community is wonderful. I meet with the elites, like would we meet twice a week right now, and we just have a great time. We do things on our own. We're watching the videos of the TIR program on our own. We meet in the morning. I hold a session where we watch the videos, and then another person holds a session at night where we watch. And that's really helps me. And it's great for us to combine together, like outside of what Mary teaches, we also get together and watch the videos and talk about it, so that we also have a time to meet together outside of what Mary does. And then we meet with that. And Mary's taking us through a book now. She's taking us through what are we going through,
Secret
Mary?
of the Ages.
Secret Secret of the Ages. And it is just wonderful because we get to read a little bit about that and then have Mary's feedback on it to give us a greater explanation of the book from what we've read. So it's great having that feedback from Mary.
Thanks, Donna.
Yes, multiple viewpoints are always helpful. So is it fair to say that before working with Mary, the goals that you thought you might want to have seemed unrealistic, and now that you've been working with Mary, your goals are realistic?
Yes, I still hadn't achieved them, but I didn't think like I do this? Now I see that it's possible, and I see people achieving it. I look at what Mary has done, and I know what she's achieved, and I know if she could do it, I could do it.
And you feel like they're definitely attainable. You
Yeah,
don't feel like you're going to be chasing them forever. You feel like they're just right there, and you see yourself as the person who can do it, right?
matter of fact, even I'm working on being a life coach, and I just started it yesterday. I started actually doing it, and I'm going through Mary's book with this person, and we had our first meeting yesterday. So I'm actually doing it. I'm
Very
actually living
good.
it.
Yay. Round of applause for
I
Donna.
know. I'm
Thank
so proud
you.
of you,
Yes.
Donna. That's so good.
Yeah. So it is being achieved, you know.
Good. Good. That is so good to hear. Mary, do you have any last thoughts for us, or do you have a lead magnet or anything that you want to talk about or anything before we close?
Yeah, sure. Well, I believe that everybody should have a self-image script because that is it anchors you. It just helps me, especially. I mean, I get to check off things every single day of stuff that's happening and stuff that's becoming part of my life because of this process. So I have free self-image scripting workshops multiple times a month, and I can I'll provide you the link for them to anybody in your network to sign up for the next one if you want, Colleen.
That would be amazing. And I will put that in, I'll put it in the comment under the replay too.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
And does that link change? Will I need to update that?
Nope, you won't. It'll be the same all forever.
Good, good.
Until I tell you it's not anymore. But it'll for the
Good, 'cause
foreseeable
it's meant to be
future, it'll be the same.
meant to be evergreen so that we
Yes.
can continually have people who watch this and want to reach out to you be able to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll put it in the chat here, and that way you can do with it what you want.
I will go grab it from there.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I just, allow yourself to imagine, allow yourself to think about, oh, what else could I do? What else could I do? What would I love today? And start from there. Because like we said, we've put ourselves in a box sometimes up until this point. And now, like you mentioned, kids are gone and the house looks different and things are, now I have this time. It's yours. Use it. You can do whatever you want with it. So start imagining. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, ladies. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank
And
you.
we'll be live again next week. Mary, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
Thank
We
you.
totally appreciate it. And I will get this replay up and get it posted.
Fabulous. Thank you, Colleen.